Hello, everybody. My name is Jason Bowers, and I am Assistant Principal of Westmont Montessori School in Metchosin, which is a small municipality just outside of Victoria, British Columbia. We are gathered here today to discuss our Montessori program here at Westmont. We are an early primary to grade 12 school, and we currently have roughly 240 students in early primary right up to grade 12. And we are so lucky today to have both a Westmont student and a Westmont parent join us today. The goal for the next, few minutes is for you as viewers to get a really good understanding of a student perspective and a parent perspective so that you can get a greater understanding of our programs here at Westmont Montessori School. So thank you for joining, and we hope you find the next few minutes and the interviews quite enlightening, and we hope that it allows you to just gain a better understanding of what we do. So with that being said, I would like to introduce two very important people to this interview process. The first is Matia, and the second is Naomi. I'm going to allow them just a little bit of time to introduce themselves and who they are, and then we will follow up with some questions that will allow you as the viewer to understand who we are as an organization. So Naomi, can I have you introduce yourself for our viewing audience today?
Hello, hello. So I've been a parent at Westmont since 2014, so 7 years now. My son started when the day he turned 3, in fact, it was his birthday. He didn't actually know, we didn't tell him. We're just like, it's your first day of school. And later, by the way, it's your birthday. But he started then, and that was 7 years ago, almost exactly. And he's now in grade 5. And then my daughter started when she was 3 as well. And she is now in grade 2. And I started volunteering with the school about 4 or 5 years ago, and have really enjoyed that, and just love the school community, and my kids are so happy coming to school every day, and we love Westmont.
Great. Thank you very much, Naomi. Matia, could I have you provide a brief introduction about who you are?
Yes, of course. Okay. So I joined Westmont, actually, fun little fact, a while ago for preschool. And I stayed here about till second grade. And then I went on my way and went to a different school and stayed away for a few years and then circled all the way back here for grade 9. And then have been coming here since the beginning of, grade 9. So since September was my first day back, and it was funny because I came into the school and I hadn't been in here since I was, in grade 2. So completely different people, right? So I come in here and I look at the walls and the rooms and the people, and everything just seems familiar, right? And it's like I can't think of exactly what it is, but it's like, I'll give you a little example. I went to wash my hands for the first time when I was here, and I smelled the soap, and I immediately got all these memories coming back to my brain from when I was about this big, right? So it was pretty funny. Just little things like that have just sparked my memory completely. And it's this exact building that's used to be the elementary school was when I went here, and now it is the high school. And I actually have a picture of me that is now our workroom. That used to be our workroom when I was little, of me making sushi with my dad. And I have that in my locker, but it's just funny because I can look at it and I can identify everything. And I'm just like, I know this, it's just a familiar place. And I don't think it's just because I've been here before, right? I think it's familiar because it just feels comfortable, right? I don't feel scared. I just feel like I can walk in and everyone feels so welcoming. Everyone says hello. We get a greeting every single morning from Jason and Agnes. It's just the little effort that they put into the school, everyone puts into the school. It's incredible. So that is my introduction.
Great. Thanks very much, Matia. So with those introductions, I hope you as viewers have a little more understanding as to our two special guests today. And I'm going to now transition into some questions. And Naomi, I'm gonna start by asking you what I feel is probably one of the most important questions that we're going to ask today, and that is, as a parent of two children here at Westmont, what would be the thing that you appreciate most about Westmont as a school? What do you appreciate the most?
So hard to decide. Seriously. I mean, I love the community so much. I love the location of the school. But it's definitely the Montessori method that I actually appreciate the most, I think, because I just can't imagine my kids learning any other way. They're so used to it. One thing that's really cute is that they play school. I don't know if my older son would like me to tell this story, but they still play school together, like with stuffies. And when they have, this student set up doing this activity because that's what they're into, and this student set up doing that activity because that's what they're into. And the way they design the school, it's so Montessori. And I love it. I think that kids learning with the materials that Montessori provides, and in the way of what following their interests and asking questions and answering them for themselves, they retain so much information. They love the way that their day flows. They're excited to go to school every day, and I just can't imagine it being the same if they were kind of, okay, now everybody's doing this, now everybody sit and listen to that, and it's just it's just a different way to learn, and it just works so great, in my opinion.
Fantastic. That's wonderful to hear, Naomi, that your kids are excited to come to school every day. I know from an educator's perspective, that brings me a lot of joy to hear that kids want to be at school every day. That's fantastic.
And then when they're not at school, they're playing school.
Yeah, I mean, wrong.
That's great. Thank you so much, Naomi. Matia, you certainly identified in your introduction some things that you appreciate about being in high school currently at Westmont. Could I have you just maybe reflect and identify one thing in particular that you, as a current student in our high school, really appreciate about Westmont? What would be the one thing that you appreciate the most about being at Westmont currently?
The flexibility. Like, honestly, it's such a simple thing, but yet it packs so much. Like, the way that they're able to bend and twist my assignments into things that I just absolutely love. Like, you may notice I'm absolutely covered in paint right now, and no one questioned me. I walk through the halls and they're just like, yeah, it's normal, right? And it's just funny. It's just a small little example of that. They're just able to incorporate so many things that I love into my assignments. I can do assignments about my favorite artists, about my favorite musicians, about all these pop culture things that I never knew could be school, right? Like, it's incredible. And I explain about something I love and they're just like, you can turn that into an assignment. And I'm just like, what? And they're like, yes, like, you can learn about that and incorporate it into your grade, and you can graduate off of something that you just are so deeply passionate about. So just the flexibility is incredible. Like, it's endless, really. Like, they don't say, I don't want to say they don't say no, but there's always room to negotiate. That's what my teachers always say. Always room to negotiate. And honestly, it's music to my ears, truly. It's great. Yes, so that is
Thanks.
something.
That's great. And, again, I can appreciate that flexibility piece, because I know in my workplace, I appreciate that as a member of the staff team here, right? That having flexibility, allows us all to sort of feel like we are in control a little bit, right? And that's what I'm really hearing from you, Matia, is that you feel like that flexibility is allowing for you to be engaged, which is fantastic.
Yes.
So thanks for sharing. Naomi, back to you. And my next question really is around what separates or differentiates Westmont from other schools, whether that be your own schooling experience or, what you've heard or seen in other schools. But what do you think is the sort of the defining characteristic that really differentiates who we are or what we do to other schools?
Well, I think same two things I've mentioned already. The Montessori method for sure. To me, that's like, I would never want to lose that for my kids. And I don't have the alternative to compare it to for my own children. But from what I hear, for so many kids, it works so well. But also the community, I think, it's such a nice, welcoming community. And I definitely hear that our school is more cohesive and welcoming and friendlier than many other schools. And we just have that kind of family feeling.
Great. Yeah, there's I think a lot of people really appreciate that sense of community and that sense of family. I think that's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Could I just add one thing?
Oh, please do.
I also really love the mixed grades. I'm always talking about that actually with other parents, that where kids go to other schools or if they're thinking about Montessori, because I think that's so great for the little guys to be in class with the little bit bigger ones, and they're helping them with their zippers, and then eventually they graduate to be the person who's helping the little ones with their zippers, and then when you get a bit older, they're sharing their learning with the younger kids, which cements their learning, and that's just been so wonderful. My kids are 3 years apart, so they're always, both of them, either the youngest, the middle, or the oldest. So it's pretty neat, and they all have that experience. And like next year, they're going to be grade 3 and grade 6, and I know that they'll be the leaders, and that's right. So great. They get that leadership opportunity, and be in the middle, and kind of the busy bee year, they call it, right in the middle, and then the new year where you're the new person. And then to also have those relationships with kids that you're in for 1, 2, 3 years, and the teachers as well. So I really love the way that's set up.
That's, fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for that, Naomi. Tia, what advice would you give to other students who were coming to Westmont for the first time? They're just entering our organization and our community. What advice would you give those students, regardless of sort of grade level? What would you say to them as they prepared to come to school and to Westmont for the very first time?
Well, I'm going to put myself in the perspective of how many months ago was September? Like, how long ago was that?
7?
7 months ago. Tia, her little brain. But she walked in here very scared, very intimidated by this whole experience, because I'd been to school for a little while. So I walked in here terrified. Just like, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's this big Montessori school. It seemed way bigger than it is now, right? So I see all these students that look like they all have their own little subjects and their own little things that they know how to do. And I walked in here terrified, and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do or what to say or how to be. And I was like that for a few months until I realized that no one really cared as much as I thought they did. I had this whole outlook where I was kind of just terrified that I wasn't going to do good or right. But then I realized that no one even cares if I'm not doing it perfectly or exactly how it's supposed to be. I just would say to not be as scared as I was, and to just kind of be able to let go that fear. It's hard, but to be able to let go of the fear that you're not going to do perfect, because you're not going to do perfect, right? You're walking into this school and you're going to do how you're going to do, and they're going to help you with what you need, right? And so I didn't really realize that at first. I was like, okay, I have to come in here and I have to get perfect grades, and I have to do this and this and this. And now 7 months later, I'm sitting here and thinking that is just not even the case at all, right? The grades, the things, those don't matter. They come along when you feel comfortable. So just to let go of that little voice in the back of your head saying that you're not going to do that good, because you are, because they make sure you do okay. But not forcingly, if you know what I mean. They just kind of put it in, and then you roll with it. So just to be less scared, it's probably what I'd
Great,
say.
great advice, Matia. Great
Thank you.
advice. Naomi, when you were choosing a school originally for your kids, I know you've made reference to Montessori being one of the sort of key characteristics that you really appreciate about Westmont currently. Can you give us a sense of what drew you to the school originally, and in what ways those expectations have been met, or yeah, just how the original drive or reasons to be here, where are you at now in reflecting upon that decision?
Well, honestly, originally it was location. I did not know about Montessori. Um, so it was Whitty's Lagoon, gorgeous Machosen, beautiful farm fields. Yes, that's where I want my kid to go to school. And he was about 1 at the time when I thought about that. And it has remained a huge draw for us staying at the school and continuing, because as they get older, there's just so many different things that they can enjoy, their little hikes in the woods. Now my son's going up Machosen Mountain, which I didn't even know about before, and you know, the Camp Thunderbird coming up, and so all the outdoor education is awesome, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. It was Montessori was kind of what I discovered once I got there, and then fell in love with it. Yeah, and then I was lucky enough to get to go to private or independent schools my whole life. My mom's a teacher, and I knew that the education that they would be getting would be, you know, better than public. Just smaller class sizes, better teacher student ratio, and also seems like teachers in independent and private schools they seem to care more. So that's been my experience. More dedicated. It's not just a job. It's like they seem really dedicated.
Fantastic. Matia, along the same lines, you know, you did a great job of identifying what advice you would have for incoming students to Westmont, and I'd like to sort of the same question, I think, is connected to that question around advice, but given your experience of starting at Westmont again 7 months ago, has Westmont met your expectations? Has it exceeded your expectations? Where can you talk to us about where you're at in terms of what you thought your Westmont experience would be 7 months ago, and where you're at now?
I can't even, like, they brought me expectations that I didn't even know I could reach, right? Like, it has brought me so many things that I am just so deeply passionate about. Honestly, I didn't even know I could feel some of the emotions and passions that I feel until I came here. And that is just like being 100% honest. Like, when I walked in here, I had my interests and I had the things that I loved and I had my hobbies, but it's as if it took those hobbies and passions to like another level. Like, I just was able to express them every single day that I've been here, right? And when I was like not going to school, I could be on my own schedule and I could say, okay, I'll put aside time for this and for this. And then I come here and there's no time put aside because it's always, right? Like, it's always happening. So I guess that's what that would be.
Great.
Yeah.
I get the sense it has, and you've said as much, it's really, it exceeded your expectations, right?
Yes, it like deepened all my passions and took them to another level that I didn't even know existed. So that's incredible. Love it.
Great. Naomi, if the school were to be represented as a single person, what would its personality be like in as few words as possible? So it's I'm gonna get you to think about that. So I'll repeat the question. Well,
I get it. I get it.
you can use yes, use as many words as you like, but I'd like you to try and be as concise as possible. So if the school were to be represented as a single person, what we're really looking for is what would be the characteristics of that person's personality, right? Yeah, how would you describe the school's personality if it were a person?
Without just reciting the motto, because that's what comes to mind. I'm like, dynamic. It's true though.
So you answer the way you want to answer.
Yeah, I would say I would describe the school as okay. I would describe the school as welcoming, dynamic, flexible, personalized. This isn't really this isn't like a human characteristics though. I might have to start again.
Yeah, go. Yeah.
What is the word I'm looking for? I guess dynamic is the word. Is there another word for dynamic or flexible that would be better for a human being?
I think that if those are the two words that come to mind, then go
okay.
for it.
Okay. So I would describe the school as being welcoming, friendly, and dynamic, flexible, kind of like a jack of all trades. Like if it's a person, then somebody who can do all those things, all the things for all the people. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. Matia, I'm gonna ask you the exact same question. So if you could think of the school as a person, how would you describe, what would the personality of that person be like?
Oh my goodness, it's so hard because I don't think it would have one personality. You know, like we're all so different. Like all so different. So I think this would be a superhuman. I mean, if I'm taking all these people from the school and putting them into one, it would be quite overwhelming. But not in a bad way. Not in a bad way at all. You know, like it would be.
Are there any personalities that you think, like when you, I'm sorry, say that again.
Just welcoming, passionate, so involved and so engaged, right? And it's as if like a person puts their mind to something and they will do anything and everything to get that one thing. But I don't even think it's one thing. I think it's just a whole amount of endless things, you know? I don't know if that answers your question, but
it absolutely does. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. You both have described some wonderful personalities. The next question really has to do around in talking to others about the school. Clearly you're going to come from two different perspectives, one as a parent, one as a student. We know that. But what I'm looking for is what, from your perspective as a parent, Naomi, what are you hoping that your kids, when they finish their journey at Westmont Montessori, what are you hoping that this experience does for them? So, they're in the, they're in the middle of their journey right now, but when they finish and move on to whatever, post-secondary pursuit they choose, what are you hoping that they're able to take with them from their Westmont experience?
I'm hoping they will come out of the Westmont experience with a really clear idea of who they are, what their passions are, what they're interested in, how to learn, how to discover answers to things and information, and also how to be part of a team or a group, and who they are as individuals, and what they're interested in, and what direction they feel compelled to go in the future.
Great, thank you. And Tia, what are you hoping when you graduate grade 12 and you move on to your post-secondary pursuit? What are you hoping that that you sort of take from this whole Westmont experience?
There's so many things. There's so many things I want to walk away with, but I think I have a few of them that the school has already given me. So I can only imagine what can happen in the next few years. But I think a major one is independence, being able to do things on my own, which I think I am able to do now, but being able to do it without fear, right? Being able to walk into something and being able to stay, right? And kind of taking it on without being scared, if that makes sense. Either if that's work or hobbies or what schools I want to go to, universities, colleges, being able to take it and like hold it and being able to be like, I can do this. I'm 100% confident I can do this. And I have no doubts. That's a loaded thing, but I think if I'm able to focus towards that, I think it's something that I can achieve.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Not being scared. That's one. But I think we're all a little scared sometimes. So that's just human, but less scared maybe. Yeah.
Great. The last question, and this is for both of you, and Naomi, I'll have you lead off, is how would you describe the values of the school? If you were having a casual conversation with friends or family or neighbors, and somebody said, yeah, what are the values of the school? How would you articulate those values?
I think the values are being yourself, and letting things kind of happen naturally. Like I'm not involved in the day-to-day at the school, but it seems to me that it wouldn't be the type of place where someone would say, you have to apologize. It would be like, let's work this out. If there's a conflict. So I think it's sort of naturally, I don't know what the name for that would be, for the name for that value, but natural conflict resolution, and certainly community, and there's got to be something, a calmness. I don't know how to put this, but it's sort of there's just sort of a natural order that happens at the school, and you can feel it in the little kids' classrooms. And oftentimes if you have that many tiny people in the same room, they're going to be blah, and it's just like, no, they're all busy, they're doing their thing. And this, the same in the 1 to 3s, and they all just kind of naturally, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of effort that needs to be put into kind of controlling the kids, because they are naturally interested in what they're doing, and they're ready and willing and able, and they so it's sort of there's an ease to everything, it feels like to me. And then certainly I would think in the older grades too, if they're following their interests too, it's just there's an ease to learning. So I hope that answers something.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks very much for that, Naomi. Matia, how would you, based on your experience as a student at Westmont, how would you describe the values of this organization?
Values as in, like, what is that imply?
Sort of the what guides people, like what sort of internal sort of guidelines have people created to you know, in terms of how they want to treat each other, how they want to act, how they want to be, you know?
A little example that I would have was they always approach it with a sense of understanding, even like a sense of like empathy. They always respond, they as in teachers and our staff, they always walk in with understanding and act as if we're just like, I kind of said this in my mom talk, but as if we're just two people like having a conversation, not like they're up here and I'm down here, because that's was my experience with public school system, was that teachers and staff, they always thought that they were like above the students because they're older and they like know more. But if I'm comparing them to the staff and the teachers here, they just treat us as if we're on the same level, right? They talk to us just like we're 100% human, and not like, they don't look at us like we're children and that we're teenagers with all these emotions. They look at us just like, hey, you're a person, we can talk, and you don't have to be scared, right? Circling back to that, another little example would be is whenever I walk into the main building from the high school, and there's like students sitting outside in their little circle, one will like run up and like open the door for me, and I'll like walk in and then they'll close it, or I'll be leaving and they'll like rush to open the door and like open it for me. I'm just like, you have like this, you're what, like 7 years old, and you have this skill of just being so polite? Like, I've adults, teenagers I've met don't even know to do things like that, right? So it's like the way that they're molding their minds to just have so many life skills that you couldn't really have without just the way that they're teaching. It's just, it's incredible. It blows my mind. And like the little ones, they teach me so much too, right? Like I see them and their little personalities and the way that their minds work is beautiful, right? And they teach me just as much, right? So it's so funny to be able to work and like be at school with so many different people from different ages, because you get to see how their minds work and then how middle school minds work and how ours work. It's all these different levels, but yet we all just come together in one, and it works. It blends. We blend, you know?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, Matia and Naomi, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to just engage in a conversation about your lived experience being a student or a parent at the school. I really appreciate that, because our hope is that those people who have viewed this video will get a deeper understanding, right, of what our community here at Westmont is all about, and how we approach education and learning. So I really want to just acknowledge both of you for taking the time to, share your thoughts and experiences. For all of you watching, thank you. We really appreciate that you've taken the time to learn more about Westmont Montessori School. And we hope you've gained a greater insight as to how we approach Montessori education from the early primary grades right up to grade 12. Thanks for joining.